guys, today our story is called Alfie Gets In First, and this little boy is Alfie, and the author, the person that wrote the story, is called Shirley Hughes. I like Alfie stories. One day Alfie and Mum and Annie Rose were coming home from the shops. Alfie ran on ahead because he wanted to get home first. He ran all the way from the corner shop to the front gate and up the steps to the front door. And there's Mummy pushing the pushchair with his baby sister Annie Rose, and there's Alfie running on ahead. I think Mummy would shout out, "Don't go too far, Alfie. I need to see you." Well, then he sat down on the top step and waited for the others. Along came Mum, pushing Annie Rose and the shopping. "I raced you," called Alfie. "I'm back first, so there." Annie Rose didn't care. She was tired. She sat back in her pushchair and sucked her thumb. "Oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to race anybody." I think she's nearly going to sleep in her pushchair. Mum put the brake on the pushchair and left Annie Rose at the bottom of the steps while she lifted the basket of shopping up to the top. And then she found the key and opened the front door. Alfie dashed in ahead of her. I've won," he shouted. Mum put the shopping down in the hall and went back down the steps to lift Annie Rose out of her pushchair. But what do you think Alfie did then? Oh no, Alfie goes in first, doesn't he? And Mummy goes back down to fetch his baby sister. Do you think you can guess what happened? He gave the door a great big slam. Bang! Just like that. Then Mum was outside the door holding Annie Rose, and Alfie was inside with the shopping, and Mum's key was inside too. Oh my goodness, how do you think Alfie's feeling now? He can't get to his Mummy or Annie Rose because he shut the door and Mummy can't get in. I think I might feel a little bit scared. "Open the door, Alfie," said Mum. But Alfie didn't know how to open the door from the inside. The catch was too high up, and Mum looked into the letterbox. "Try to reach the catch and turn it," she said. Alfie tried, but he couldn't quite reach it. "Can you put the key through the letterbox?" said Mum. But Alfie couldn't reach the letterbox either. Oh dear, I think Mum's getting a bit worried too. She doesn't want Alfie to be in the house on his own. Annie Rose was hungry as well as tired, and she began to cry. Then Alfie began to cry too. He didn't like being all by himself on the wrong side of the door. Just then Mrs. McNally came hurrying across the street to see what all the noise was about. There's Mrs. McNally. She says, "Is everything okay?" She and Mum took it in turns to say encouraging things into the letterbox, but Alfie still couldn't open the door. Look at Alfie's face. Oh dear, he looks ever so sad and worried. I think he wants his Mummy to get in now. "Go and fetch your little chair from the sitting room and then you'll be able to reach the catch," said Mum. But Alfie didn't try to fetch his little chair. He just went on crying, louder and louder, and Annie Rose cried louder and louder too. "There's my Maureen," said Mrs. McNally. "I'm sure she'll be able to help." Oh dear, look, poor Alfie's crying. "I want my Mummy." And Annie Rose is crying because I think she's hungry and tired. I wonder if Maureen can help, Mrs. McNally's daughter. Mrs. McNally's Maureen was a big girl. Right away she came and joined Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally on the top step. She said, "Might have to break a window, but I'll try to climb up the drain pipe first if you like." But Mrs. McNally, her Mummy, didn't like that idea at all. "Oh no, Maureen, you might hurt yourself," she said. And just then Alfie's very good friend, the milkman, came up the street in his milk float. There's the milkman. I wonder if he'll be able to help. When he saw Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally and Mrs. McNally's Maureen all standing on the top step, he stopped his float and said, "What's the trouble?" So they told him. "Don't worry, mate," the milkman shouted. "We'll soon have you out of there." Oh, look, Alfie's walking about inside thinking, please hurry up. Looks as though the lock's going to be difficult to break, said the milkman. But then Mrs. McNally's Maureen had a very good idea. She ran to ask the window cleaner who was working up the street if he would bring his ladder and climb up to the bathroom window. And of course, when the window cleaner heard about Alfie, he came hurrying along with his ladder as quickly as he could. He said, "Oh, I don't want Alfie to be in there longer than he has to on his own. I'll get my ladder. I'll go and fetch my ladder. The ladder I used to climb up to clean people's windows." There he is there. Look, he's climbing up the ladder. Then Mum and Auntie Rose and Mrs. McNally and Mrs. McNally's Maureen and the milkman all stood on the top step and watched while the window cleaner put his ladder up against the house. He started to climb up to the bathroom window, but when he was halfway up the ladder, what do you think happened? What does Alfie look like he's done? That's his chair, isn't it? I wonder what he's going to do now. He's brought his chair to the front door. He couldn't reach the latch, could he? The front door suddenly opened and there was Alfie. He'd managed to reach the catch and turn it like that after all. He was very pleased with himself and he opened the front door as wide as it would go and stood back grandly to let everybody in. He's very pleased with himself. He said, "I've managed to do it. I brought my chair and stood up on the chair and reached the catch to open the door." I think he's very pleased now. Then the window cleaner came down from the ladder and he and the milkman and Mrs. McNally's Maureen and Mrs. McNally and Auntie Rose and Mum and Alfie all went into the kitchen and had a cup of tea together. There they are. That was a happy ending, wasn't it? Because Alfie was rescued. And when everybody went home, he stood at the door with his mummy and Alfie Rose. He wasn't going to do that again. It was just too scary. So that was an adventure that Alfie had. But he's not going to do that anymore, is he? Because he got stuck inside and Mummy was outside. And that's our story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.